The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
Amelia knocks one of the hengemen into some kind of tall but kind of small post device, which obliterates it interestingly. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to the very first Power Rangers Dino Fury episode review. The anticipation for this new Ranger team has been through the roof since this season brings some very significant changes. Entertainment One has taken over production of the show, and the new executive producer is Simon Bennett, with Chip Lynn listed as a creative consultant. Bennett's recent interview with Sci-Fi Wire, which you can see my reaction to by clicking the card above, was a huge shot in the arm for my excitement for this show. There were some elements of Ryusoulger that didn't really excite me, but now that I know Bennett's intention and direction for the show, I'm ready. Standard new adaptation disclaimer time, go! I have seen all of Kisha-Ryu Sentai Ryusoulger. If something in Dino Fury comes directly from the Sentai, I'm pretty sure that I know what it means and what it's probably going to be in Dino Fury. But I review Power Rangers on its own as Power Rangers. For example, if we happen to see 6 of something, spoilers, we're going to, I will comment on that, but I'm not going to go, oh, that's going to be the color Ranger with the dinosaur. In fact, even though I've seen the interviews and the previews, and I know most of these characters' names, I will be introducing them as the episode does. No Ranger fan left behind. If this video is your very first exposure to this episode, I would still say that you should probably go and watch the episode first, but I don't want you to feel like we're leaving you behind. Also, this video isn't exactly sponsored, but there is something I want to talk about right here. My good friend Gary, aka Trekker Prize, made another amazing set of graphical assets for this season. Gary is a professional graphic designer and has opened up a brand new graphic design business called Rock Tiger Design. He can help you with YouTube channel art, websites, Twitch layouts, anything along those lines. Gary is always super fast sending me graphical assets, and adjustments are always made really quickly on the fly and right back to me. I can't recommend him enough. Rock Tiger Design gets the Orange Ranger stamp of approval. Check him out if you need any graphic help at rocktigerdesign.com. Alright, I think y'all are gonna get furious if I don't get the ball rolling here. Heroes, let's take a look at the first episode of Power Rangers Dino Fury, Destination Dinohenge.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notifications set up by hitting that little bell icon.
Right you. What he said was, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos.
A Natalie-dressed girl riding on a pink moped that's covered in stickers about the paranormal, ghosts, Bigfoot, etc., arrives at work, catching up with her boss, who jokes about having worked through the weekend. The girl's name is Amelia, and she is a reporter for BuzzBlast, which for all the world seems like an MCN. An MCN is a multi-channel network, basically an umbrella company that covers and manages a number of creators in all kinds of different genres. We see them doing shows about cooking, makeup, music, etc. Amelia tells her boss, whose name is Jane, that she has a new story idea. Jane says that she's happy to hear it, just as long as it's not another ghost story. Amelia wants to go investigate a historical site nearby called Dinohenge. Jane says Dinohenge is supposed to be haunted. This is another ghost story. Amelia says no, not really. It would actually be her first ghost story. Jane's attitude is a little weird, actually. Paranormal shows like Ghost Hunters are all the rage right now. They'd fit right in on BuzzBlast. Jane says that you need special permission to visit Dinohenge, which Amelia lies about having. But to the greater point, Buzz Blast isn't about ghosts and the paranormal. It's about skateboards and singers, fashionable foods, and top 10 travel tips, as Amelia fills in. I swear, Buzz Blast is going to be this satirical send-up of what YouTube has become, and I am here for every second of it. Jane says that Amelia was supposed to be working on a lip gloss review, but that video is already done and has been posted to Buzz Blast. Jane asks if she can get some samples of the lip gloss, but Amelia's already left them on her desk. Amelia's that girl that's just always one step ahead, completely prepared and professional. She presses Jane some more about Dinohenge, and Jane finally gives in, but says she wants a completely accurate historical piece, not a paranormal ghost story. And I'm sure that's exactly what she's going to get. Of course, arriving at Dinohenge, we see that Amelia has no intention of following through with that. Oh, she's going to give Jane a factual piece, a piece proving that ghosts are factual. She has a device with her called a spook snare. It's a ghost detector and net gun all together in one handy-dandy pink gun thing. She's also got a GoPro mounted to it, and proving that my nitpicking skills are still sharp as ever, we get this one shot looking at what's on the camera with her on the other side of the camera, and the motions of the two Amelias don't sync up. Oops, The gun detects something, and Amelia sees something white and billowing moving around in the mist. She fires the net at it and manages to catch a biker wearing a white poncho. She apologizes and tries to retract the net, but activates its electro-zappy function instead. He asks what she's doing out there, just firing nets at people willy-nilly, and she explains about being a reporter. She asks him what he's doing out there, and he's a smarmy dude, saying the online reviews said this was the best place to get caught in a zappy net, and boy howdy, he's giving it 5 stars. As for me, I don't know, the net was pretty good, but I think the zappy could have been a little bit stronger. I'm going to give it a 4.5. He grumbles about being late now and wonders how he can find his way to Dinohenge. Hey, just so happens that that's where Amelia's heading, and just like Dora the Explorer, she's got a handy-dandy map. With her being more helpful now, he introduces himself, Ollie, and says that his mom is an archaeologist that moved the family to the city of Pine Ridge to uncover some history. Amelia says that was a good choice because Pine Ridge is packed with wild history. Such as Dinohenge, 6 stone statues of dinosaurs and a saber-toothed tiger arranged in a circle. Amelia meets Dr. Akana, who is going to fill the Commander Shaw role of incredibly attractive older female character this season. Ahem. Dr. Akana has a scanning system that's attached to a drone that can scan the area for underground structures. Activating the scan seems to do something to the statues as their eyes light up and there's a momentary earthquake. Everything settles down, the scanner sets back down, and does indeed reveal an underground chamber. Then Warden Buzzkill walks up. Well, that's what Amelia calls him. His actual name is Warden Garcia. This is going to be one of the comedic characters that Bennett mentioned. I just get that feeling. He's a real by-the-book guy, a real stick in the mud. He says they're not permitted to be there, so they need to pack up and head on out. However, Dr. Akana needs to come with him first because he needs her to give a statement, but really it's time for the Ranger stuff to get started and they're not involved with that part of the script. Lonnie, Dr. Akana's first name that she gave the warden in introducing herself, tells her son to pack everything up and to meet her in town, slyly saying that they got all the data that they needed anyway. Ollie noticed that Amelia and the warden seemed to know each other and weren't on very friendly terms. She explains that she may have had 1 or 2 or 17 run-ins with him. What can she say? He's not a fan of ghost hunters. Ollie cannot believe that she believes in ghosts, saying he hasn't even seen any in all the tombs and catacombs that he's explored with his mother, because ghosts are not real. He asks if she's ever found any proof, and she says no. Proof of ghosts is kind of hard to come by. But why should she even bother explaining that to someone who's so obviously closed-minded? The tension between these two is great from the very beginning, as they strongly agree to disagree. Then a purple and silver knight beams down and the two hide. The knight scans around for an energy source, locating it underground and blasting underneath of Dinohenge. Amelia steps out to follow them, with Ollie right behind her, but both of them a little scared. They make their way into some kind of underground lab, or maybe some kind of spaceship, seeing knighted kind of soldiers in armor with checkerboard shields. The place begins activating as Void Knight looks around for the energy source, and a door opens, revealing an elderly dinosaur woman that looks partially like a cyborg, and she begs someone named Zayto to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Run, rush, and put a little makeup!
They blast her, demanding that the old lizard tell them where the energy source is. She rebuffs him, saying 1, she's not a lizard, she's a dinosaur, and 2, old. Rude. They introduce themselves as Void Knight, saying she's no match for their power. She may not be, but she knows someone who is, revealing a Red Ranger. However, when Void Knight realizes that the Red Ranger is still in stasis, they bash the console. They demand the energy source again, but she pretends not to know what they're talking about. Void Knight goes to attack her, but Ollie grabs a sword off the wall and defends her. Void Knight advances on him, but Amelia fires the net at them, catching and electrifying them. The dinosaur woman says that they don't have much time, that net's not going to hold them long, tossing them a key that will activate the hengemen, the armored soldiers standing around the room, by placing the key into the saber. However, Void Knight stands up and is able to catch the key, saying the henchmen are going to work for them instead. They place the key in their saber, and the henchmen are activated. So Void Knight's saber works exactly the same way that their sabers do.
Things that make you go,
Surrounded by the henchmen, the two wonder what they can do now. Amelia mentions that she's taken 3 years of karate. Ollie says so has he, as well as 6 years of fencing.
Beware!
The two have one of those found objects fights, pushing boxes around and knocking down shelves. Pretty standard Power Rangers fare, as Void Knight just keeps searching for the energy source. Eventually, Amelia grabs one of the swords as well and attacks with it, but the two are once again surrounded in the middle of the room. That's when their swords start glowing.
Now I'm radioactive! That can't be good!
Energy travels from the sword through their arms and places a morpher that looks a lot like this one on their left wrists. The Dino Woman notices this and tosses them statue keys that are pink and blue and look a lot like this. The two place the keys into the morphers, and without doing anything else, which will become important a little bit down the line, a green cloud forms overhead, and the two are morphed into the pink and blue Rangers. They have a more proper fight with the henchmen, set to some wonderful 8-bit chiptune, electronica, techno type music, kind of similar to the main theme. Mr. Sellin, I think you and me are going to get along just fine. Amelia asks if they have new powers and awesome weapons. What else do they get? Ollie says, if you watch the news, Zords. That line is a lot more than just a cute comeback. That is knowledge of previous teams. That is continuity.
yes! That's awesome!
Void Knight locates the energy source, opening a drawer to reveal a chest of what they call sporics. Sporics are big crawling lumps of goo with dark orbs inside them, very clearly alive, kind of like amoebas just on a larger scale. They have some of the henchmen take the chest that the sporks are contained in. The Dino Woman screams no, don't, and smacks the console in frustration. Zayto, the Red Ranger, is awakened.
Oh well, gosh darn, ain't that convenient.
He immediately shows off his greater power, slashing two of the henchmen and crumbling them instantly. We finally get the Dino Woman's name, it's Solon, and Zayto asks just what is going on. Here's the really quick need-to-know 411, Zayto. Pink and blue over there are friendly, and purple over there is escaping with your Sporix. Zayto leaps into action, knocking back the two henchmen that have the Sporix and attacking Void Knight. Zayto asks Void Knight where they stole that armor from. Interesting. Void Knight doesn't answer, just saying it belongs to them now and resuming the attack. Amelia knocks one of the henchmen into kind of a thin but tall post device, which obliterates it instantly. That's also kind of interesting. Zayto keeps fighting Void Knight and shows the ability to turn his sword into what he calls a Dino Dagger, throwing it at the enemy. Void Knight deflects it, Zayto dodges it, and it directly hits the chest containing the Sporix. The doors of the chest open up and the Sporix fly into the air, escaping through the door with Void Knight in pursuit. The Rangers chase after Void Knight, but he causes a cave-in that blocks them into the whatever the lab area is. Outside, the cloud flies off, but one of the Sporix was so close to evolving that it simply drops right next to Void Knight. I say evolving, Void Knight called it hatching, and it turns into a unicorn monster with a big drill horn. Void Knight says this monster is going to help them reclaim the Sporix, and it falls right in line, the two teleporting away. Ollie and Amelia seem oddly unconcerned with now being trapped underground, just amazed at everything that's happened. Ollie says they're Power Rangers now, and Amelia says she didn't think at breakfast today that she'd become a superhero. I love directly associating Power Rangers as superheroes, because, you know, they are. The two demorph automatically, and their morphers turn into wrist communicators. This one will not do that. Zayto demorphs intentionally, and we learn that he is an alien that has antennae. He introduces Solon, and the other two start to introduce themselves, but he stops them, telling them who they are after a simple handshake. Members of Zayto's species can read minds. Solon informs Zayto that he's been in stasis for 65 million years, shocking him. Ollie and Amelia say if Zayto is an alien, what exactly is Solon? Some kind of cyborg dinosaur? She confirms that, saying she's a Solanosaurus. I'll save you the Google, I looked it up, doesn't seem to be a thing. She says that she was injured in a great battle against the Sporix, nudging Zayto that it might be time to give a little bit of backstory and exposition. 65 million years ago, the planet Rafcon was invaded by the Sporix, who hatched into terrible monsters that are, by the way, called Sporix Beasts. Zayto led the Knights of Rafcon in a battle against the Sporix Beast, but unfortunately the battle was lost and the planet was ravaged. The Sporix then left the planet, headed for their next target, Earth. The Knights followed them there, continuing the battle with the help of the creatures on Earth called dinosaurs. However, the battle also looked like it was going to be lost on Earth, until the Knights were visited by the Morphin Masters. Yes, I did not stutter. The Morphin Masters of MMPR lore. They appear as 6 humanoids in full suits of white armor with colored capes. Red, pink, green, blue, black, and some 6th color that's probably not going to matter all that much. The Masters seem to open the Morphin Grid, which looks really interestingly like in the 2017 movie, sort of a dark, starry void, and draw power from it, giving it to the 6 Knights. Well, actually, they accomplished this by zapping these 6 prehistoric beasts. There is a saber-toothed tiger in the group, not a dinosaur, turning them into the statues of Dinohenge, which kind of seems like a dick move for the dinosaurs and the kitty cat, and then bonding their spirits to the Knights, making them Power Rangers. And yes, they did create 6 Rangers. But the 6th is always kind of just moving out of shot, just beginning to transform, never really quite in frame. They always just give us kind of teasing glimpses at them. But don't worry, I'm sure we'll have a golden opportunity to see them sometime later on.
That was not funny.
The Masters also tell them about the mighty weapons they will create to deal with the giant Sporix, giving us a quick little 2-second look at all of the Dino Fury Zords. The Masters directly name this team, telling them that they are now the Dino Fury Power Rangers. And they are, canonically, the very first team of Power Rangers to appear on Earth.
Well, that settles that.
Ollie and Amelia point out that, hey, if Zayto's alive, they must have won the fight, right? Zayto explains that they did manage to capture all of the Sporix, but the rest of his team was lost in the process. Solon and Zayto tried destroying the Sporix, but they couldn't find a way to do so. So all they could think to do was to keep them contained and guarded. Zayto's mission became to keep the Sporix from ever escaping. But now, thanks to Void Knight, that mission has failed. So now, they have to go find them. The Sporix are going to hide and hibernate until hatching into Sporix Beast. The Rangers' mission is to find the Sporix if they can, and defeat them if they must. But first, these 2 new Rangers are going to need some training, which they are all too eager to receive. So, now it's time to score the episode, which means it's time for a brand new scoring system. Being the second dinosaur season that I'm reviewing, I couldn't just reuse digging up fossils. That was out of the question. Besides, I wanted something a lot like Throw Some Shades, something that was tied into the theming of the season, but also in a punny way means to cast judgment on. Dinosaurs are lizards. Lizards have scales. A scale is also a way that something is weighed and measured. I always like to try to balance the pros and the cons of an episode. So heroes, let's balance the scales. Episode 1, Destination Dinohenge. Pros: delivers a lot of quality exposition, exciting original footage fight scenes, and great characterization. Cons: some parts were a little note for note with Beast Morpher's debut. We don't find out quite as much about Ollie as the other 2, and it took a little too long to get Solon's name. That last con probably tells you all you need to know. Destination Dinohenge gets 5 scales out of 5. Having read the sci-fi interview before watching this episode, which once again I did a video on, was a great decision because you really see what Bennett was saying reflected in this episode. This is a story that is taking its time. That doesn't mean that it lacks exposition or details. We find out a lot about Amelia, a little bit about Ollie, find out information about the war with the Sporix. This episode does pack a lot in, but it's never too much. It never makes things feel rushed. We had a comedy moment with Warden Garcia that was based entirely on character and personality. The Rangers made some gags. The comedy really was spread around. It's a quality story that raises a lot of good questions and leaves some mystery for future episodes. If there were 6 knights, why do we only have 3 Rangers right now? Who did Void Knight steal that armor from? It wasn't part of the original team of Rangers. Why can Void Knight use the keys just like the Rangers can? A great premiere should leave you wanting more, and I want more. Great job, Dino Fury. Keep it up. Starting with the 2nd episode of Dino Fury, Sporix Unleashed. Ollie carries out a plan to catch Sporix without his teammates' knowledge. When monsters take advantage of his idea, Ollie realizes the benefit of working as a team. And that is going to do it for the first Dino Fury episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Once again, thank you to Gary from Rock Tiger Design for the graphics used in this video. Now that the video's done, it's time to let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know about that down in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you agree with my pros and cons? Let's talk about Destination Dinohenge in the comments below. But while you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. Amelia tells her boss, who's Amelia, saying the online review said this was the best place to get zapped. Oh, I forgot about turning the net off. Yay! He asks her, he fart. Amelia meets Dr. Akana, who has... Dr. Akana has a scanning farts, and he tells them that they're not permitted to be there. Lonnie, Dr. The place activates slightly as... Gosh. Dang it! And berating the old dinosaur. She rebuffs him, saying, the old lizard. They blast at her. No, they blast her. He places the key... He places the key into his saber and his... And without doing anything else, which will come in... They have two of the henchmen take a chest that they're... Amelia knocks one of the henchmen into a tall but kind of thin post device, which obliterates it which looks really interestingly... Well, they actually do this by zapping the dinosaurs and the saber-toothed tiger. So now it's time to score the episode, which means it's time for a brand new scoring system. So, now it's time to score the episode, which means it's time for a brand new scoring system. Being the second why didn't that sound right? That doesn't mean it lacks If there were 6 knights, how come we only have 3 rangers? What?